I'll talk about something here. A belief that a lot of Obamaites and other socialists in other countries have, and even, good solid patriots may believe, and that is this idea that if we inject money in the system, we spend money, we get some sort of government spending, bailout, handout, something like that. We've just got to get money into the system. So there's people with a job or people with money in their hand will spend, and then it'll give somebody else a job, and then they'll be able to spend, and then that'll in turn create more jobs, and back and forth and back and forth, and before you know it, it's like an old crank engine. Boom, 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 boom. It just, the money starts flowing, and the whole economy fires back up again. You've kick-started the economy, as they like to call it. Truth is that it's not quite that simple. Now, there's one aspect to it that doesn't really involve, shall we say, economic technicalities that I usually talk about, and that is that a lot of this stuff, at the end of the day, gets spent on Chinese products, and what does get spent on American stuff, those workers who benefit from it, or their boss who benefits from it, in the end they go out and spend money on more Chinese stuff, whether it's a big screen TV that's made in China, down to a bunch of tacky rubbish from Walmart or wherever, or even imported cars. At the end of the day, a lot of it doesn't really work that well because it gets spent on Chinese stuff, not American-made stuff, therefore helping American jobs. And you say, oh yeah, but I go to the checkout chick a job, yeah, but how much money is she going to have got out of that Chinese imported thing anyway? Like, you keep Chinese factory workers in a job, and the idea being that you're going to kickstart the American economy, but then none of it gets spent on stuff made by Americans. It'll get spent on stuff made by Chinese. But there is an economic factor to this, and of course you knew I was going to be talking about that. And that is that money, as I said, is basically production credits. And, it's a store of wealth. And a lot of people don't sort of get this because of their sort of quasi-godlike stereotype that money has gained in their mind and in the mind of almost all members of the public. And that is that if you have people who've worked for money, and there's a whole heap of money just injected in with bailouts or had by very easy means, it waters down the viability because the money isn't backed by solid work, especially not bailouts or especially not handouts. It's not backed by solid production. So therefore, it's basically watered down its value because there's a whole heap of it that was backed by solid production, and now there's been a whole lot injected that's not backed by solid production or has been created out of thin air with no backing of bond investors, other foreign investors. It's not backed by real production because it's been just sort of injected or just made up, or they've used more debt or financial mechanisms to create more money, but there's less production behind it. And what happens is, because people have got money they've saved up from hard work, plus all this new stuff's been injected in, it waters down the value of all of it, including the money that people have saved. And it's a great idea. It sounds like it's going to work, but first of all, it won't work because of China. Second of all, it won't work because if it's been gotten so easily, it's not going to retain the value of money that's been gotten harder, and as a result, it brings all money down because the US dollar's in someone's hand from a welfare handout, from a bailout, is not really physically any different or technically any different from the money that's been saved by your grandma over the years. And so it just sort of waters it down. And as it waters it down, the whole lot gets weaker. You know, and this is the whole point. It's like the chicken and the egg thing. Production become before money. But now they've got this idea that if we have heaps of money, it's going to create heaps of production. And yeah, that sounds all right. But money is only something that's a token of production. First you had production, then you had money. To create true wealth, you need production. Otherwise, anything else is just a big bunch of blooming monopoly money. It's just a big bunch of paper with numbers on it. You need to have production. And that production, you know, once upon a time, eventually went to a gold miner, and the gold miner would then be able to put gold in and get money back. And then sort of, you know, money had backing. And essentially it was the production of either silver or gold. But any sort of wealth is either products or goods stored up, or a token which will allow you to redeem products or goods for the exchange of that token. And you know, it's the whole point that if there was nothing sort of produced or created or made with this money, you know, to obtain this money initially, to create this money initially, then sort of the whole system loses the point, because it was only there. You know, I mean, money as you know today is something you exchange for products and goods. But the whole point is that the products and goods made wealth. They are wealth. They're true wealth. To have a whole heap of canned food, that's, you know, something that's worth something. You may say, oh yeah, well, not for me. Well, yeah, so be it. But other produced goods are worth stuff. And the whole point is that if there's, you know, the same amount of goods in existence, and there's a whole stack more money in existence, but the amount of goods haven't changed because those goods haven't been produced to make the money's just been sort of bada bing out of thin air, then, you know, you got a larger amount of money chasing the same amount of goods, which means that your money sort of isn't worth anymore, because that money didn't come into creation as a result of production. It just came into creation on its own, and you still got the same amount of stuff out there, but then all of a sudden you got twice the amount of paper with numbers written on it, and so then it sort of cancels itself out, basically. But yeah, that's the sort of furphy that exists. And this all comes from sort of putting money on a pedestal. I mean, money's like, you know, it's part of people's fantasies or dreams. I want to be a billionaire so friggin' bad, as the song says. You know, it's gained this sort of godlike quality, you know, sort of, you know, it's up there in the heavens next to the angels singing away, you know, it's money, you know, it's sort of, and this sort of stereotype and image it's gained has been blown out of proportion, because now it isn't sort of, I mean, the only reason it's worshipped is the products that can be obtained with the money, and because that's a universal thing that you can obtain, any product you buy with money, it's sort of like a open-ended, you can gain any number of produced goods with money, and therefore it's not as good as, you know, a Ferrari, because let's face it, my mum wouldn't want a Ferrari, but if she had money, she may be able to go and do what she wanted with that money because it's such a universal token. But yeah, that's something that Ron Paul reckons he can get 8th graders to understand and can't get adults to understand. And so I thought I'd bring that up because it is relevant. That, you know, if there's no production back in this money, if there's no gold, there's no real effort, you know, it's just more monopoly paper. It might as well be toilet paper with numbers on it. You know, and a currency collapse such as the Weimar Republic in Germany had, they actually had a case there where a woman had to go do something. I think it was go in the public toilets or something, and she had a big basket of money, which was worthless at the time. And, you know, inflation was just getting ridiculous there. And she had it in this basket, and she just said, I'll sit it there and I'll go to the public toilet. Anyway, she come out. Somebody had stolen the basket and left the money in the gutter. Yeah. And at that point, they were actually using money then for wood stoves, because there was more burnability in the money than there was in the wood that you could buy for that money. That's how ridiculous it can get under currency collapse. And, you know, that's about the point where you stop buying toilet paper and start using money. Literally, I'm not joking, that is a real option at that point. And there goes your idea of money being a godlike thing.